Quincy Wilson is breaking world records and making professional athletes look slow. This is the story of how a high school student became the fastest teenager in history. Let's start at the beginning. Quincy Wilson comes from Potomac, Maryland. He's just a regular kid who goes to Bullis School. But when he steps on the track, he turns into something completely different. His parents, Monique and Roy, noticed their son was special early on. When Quincy was just 8 years old, they moved their entire family from Virginia to Maryland. Why? So Quincy could train at the best school possible. That's how much they believed in him. And they were right to believe. When Quincy was only 14 years old, he broke a record that had stood for 30 years. Think about that. A record older than most of his teachers had been teaching. He was just getting started. Fast forward to 2024. Quincy is now 16 years old and still in high school, but he's not running against other high schoolers anymore. He wants to compete at the Olympics. In January 2024, Quincy started showing everyone what he could do. He ran the 500 meters in 1 minute and 1.27 seconds. That was the second fastest time ever by a high school student. He missed the record by just 0.02 seconds. That's like blinking your eyes. But here's where it gets crazy. In March 2024, Quincy went to Boston for the New Balance Nationals Indoor Championship. This is one of the biggest high school track meets in the country. He won the 400 meters with a time of 45.76 seconds. That time wasn't just good, it was record-breaking. It was so fast that if Quincy had run in the World Indoor Championships that year, he would have finished fourth. Let that sink in. A high school kid competing against the best adults in the world and finishing fourth. Then came April and the famous Penn Relays in Philadelphia. This is where things got really interesting. Quincy was running the relay with his teammates from Bullis School. During the race, one of his teammates got tripped and had to chase down the baton. They were way behind. Quincy got the baton for the last leg. He ran so fast that he almost made up the entire gap. His split time was 44.37 seconds. That became the fastest high school 400-meter split ever recorded at Penn Relays. Ever. But Quincy wasn't done yet. He had his eyes on something bigger. The U.S. Olympic Trials. June 2024 arrived. Quincy showed up at the Olympic trials as a 16-year-old kid competing against grown men, professional athletes who train for a living, Olympic champions, world record holders. In his first race, the preliminaries, Quincy ran 44.66 seconds. That broke the under-18 world record, a record that had stood for 42 years. Just like that, gone. 2 days later in the semifinals, Quincy did it again. He ran even faster, 44.59 seconds. Another world record. In just 2 days, he broke the same record twice. Now, here's what makes this even more amazing. The only person who ran faster than Quincy that day in the preliminaries was Quincy Hall, who would go on to win the Olympic gold medal. A high school student was running times that only Olympic gold medalists could beat. Quincy made it to the finals. He finished sixth with a time of 44.94 seconds. That wasn't fast enough to make the individual Olympic team. But the coaches noticed something. This kid was special. So they added him to the 4x400 relay pool. Just like that, Quincy Wilson became the youngest male track athlete ever to make a U.S. Olympic team. But wait, before heading to Paris for the Olympics, Quincy had one more race. In July, he competed at the Holloway Pro Classic in Florida. This was against professional runners, no high school kids, just pros. The race came down to the wire. Quincy was going head-to-head with Bryce Deadmon, an Olympic athlete. They crossed the finish line almost together. Quincy won with 44.20 seconds. Deadmon got 44.23 seconds. Only 0.03 seconds separated them. Quincy had just beaten a professional Olympic athlete and set another world record. He was now the sixth fastest 400-meter runner in the entire world for 2024, faster than Michael Norman, one of America's best sprinters. The only American faster than him was Quincy Hall, the world leader. Let's put this in perspective. Quincy was still in high school. He couldn't even vote yet, but he was ranked ahead of Olympic athletes and professional runners who trained full-time. Then came the Paris Olympics in August 2024. On August 9th, Quincy ran in the heats of the 4x400 relay. He was the leadoff runner. He handed off to Vernon Norwood, then Bryce Deadmon, then Christopher Bailey. The team qualified for the finals with a time of 2 minutes and 59.15 seconds. The next day was the final. The coaches made a decision. They didn't put Quincy in the final race. Instead, they used Christopher Bailey, Vernon Norwood, Bryce Deadmon, and Ry Benjamin. The team won gold. They set a new Olympic record with a time of 2 minutes and 54.43 seconds. They came within 0.14 seconds of the world record that had stood since 1993. Because Quincy ran in the heats, he earned a gold medal too. At 16 years old, Quincy Wilson became the youngest track and field Olympic gold medalist in history. Read that again, the youngest ever. After the Olympics, most people would take a break. Not Quincy. He kept training. He kept racing. He kept getting faster. In December 2024, he set a new personal best in the 600 meters. In February 2025, he ran 45.66 seconds indoors and beat professional runners again. Then came July 2025. Quincy traveled to Memphis, Tennessee for the Ed Murphy Classic. This wasn't a high school meet. This was a professional race, a World Athletics Continental Tour event. The big leagues. The lineup was scary. It included Stephen Gardiner, the Olympic 400-meter champion from the Bahamas, one of the best 400-meter runners on the planet. Quincy lined up in lane 5. The gun went off. He ran smoothly through the first 200 meters. Then, in the final stretch, he pulled away from everyone. When the time flashed on the board, people couldn't believe it. 44.10 seconds. Quincy had just run the fastest time ever by an under-18 athlete. He beat the Olympic champion. He beat every professional in the race. His closest competitor, Bryce Deadmon, finished in 44.39 seconds. Quincy won by 0.29 seconds. That's a huge margin in the 400 meters. After the race, Quincy talked about his performance. He said, "Staying to my coach's plan and trusting his process. I feel like this season is really starting to come upon what I've been working for right now. But being this good and this famous comes with challenges." Quincy now has 393,000 followers on Instagram. People recognize him everywhere. Some people cheer for him. Others try to bring him down. Quincy talked about dealing with fame. He said, "I feel like when it comes with being who I am, the fame and everything has gone up and escalated. I'm just thankful for it. Every single part of it. You'll have the goods and you'll have the bad. But those are the things that make Quincy Wilson. That's the mindset of a champion, taking the good with the bad and using both to get better." So where does Quincy stand now? His time of 44.10 seconds makes him the 4th fastest 400-meter runner in the world for 2025. He's also the 2nd fastest under-20 runner in history. The only person faster, Steve Lewis, who ran 43.87 seconds at the 1988 Olympics in Seoul when he was 19 years old. That record has stood for 37 years. Quincy is only 0.23 seconds away from that world under-20 record. At the rate he's improving, it's only a matter of time. Let's look at how fast Quincy has improved. In 2022, when he was 14 years old, he ran 48.41 seconds. In 2023, he got down to the mid-46-second range. In 2024, he broke into the 44-second range. In 2025, he ran 44.10 seconds. That's a drop of more than 4 seconds in just 3 years. In the 400 meters, that's incredible. Quincy still has decisions to make. He hasn't decided if he'll go to college or turn professional. He's only 17 years old. He's still in high school. But he's already accomplished more than most athletes do in their entire careers. The Australian sprint scene just got a major shakeup. At only 16 years old, Uwezo Lubenda is making waves with a performance that's impossible to ignore, and his latest message to Gout says it all. Confident, fearless, and lightning fast, Lubenda isn't just chasing Australia's next sprint star. He's challenging him head-on and proving he's ready to take over the spotlight. At the Queensland Representative School Sport event, Lubenda did what no one has done in 15 years, shatter the under-16 100-meter record. His time? A blistering 10.35 seconds, breaking Hugh Donovan's 2010 mark of 10.73. That's not just fast, that's Olympic trajectory fast. And if you're Gout, Australia's current sprinting phenom, this is more than a headline. It's a wake-up call. Gout, now 17, has already made waves. From smashing the 10-second barrier twice in a single day to representing Australia in the 200 meters at the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo, Gout has been widely seen as the future of Aussie sprinting. But Lubenda's arrival has changed that narrative. Suddenly, Gout has competition, not just for national titles, but possibly for Olympic glory in 2032 when Brisbane hosts the Games on home soil. Both sprinters have their eyes locked on that event, and both come from remarkable backgrounds. Gout's family moved to Australia from Sudan 2 decades ago, and his rise from humble beginnings to elite sprinting has earned him a high-profile deal with Adidas. Reflecting on his contract, he told GQ, "It was crazy. The number kept getting higher, and I realized how much these companies think I'm worth. That sponsorship allowed him to focus entirely on training, no side jobs, no distractions." But now, he's not the only name making noise in Queensland. Uwezo Lubenda, born in January 2009, came to Australia from the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2013. Fast forward a decade, and he's standing on the track, gold medal in hand, after leaving the field in his dust. "Man, I feel amazing," he told the Townsville Bulletin. "I was kind of hoping for a time like that. I wasn't thinking too much about it, but I'm really grateful." What's even more stunning is that his 10.35-second sprint would have been fast enough to pass the preliminary heats at the 2025 World Championships, where Gout himself competed. While Gout's best 100-meter time at 16 was a scorching 10.17 seconds, Lubenda is just one stride behind, and he's already talking long-term. "My goal is 2032 Brisbane," he said. "I got my eyes on that." Gout, for his part, ran 10.17 seconds at the Australian All-Schools Championship in Queensland last year, an unofficial 10.04 seconds that was aided by a tailwind beyond the legal limit. Even so, his raw speed and consistency as a junior put him firmly in the spotlight. Now, Lubenda's consistency and explosive race execution at just 16 have put him in that same rarefied air. This isn't just two fast kids chasing dreams. It's shaping up to be a genuine rivalry, the kind that can define a generation. In Tokyo, Gout ran 20.22 in his 200-meter heat and 20.36 in the semis. Solid times for a 17-year-old, but not quite finals material. Still, the fact he made it that far at such a young age is no small feat. Yet, as he trains for 2028 in Los Angeles and the big stage in 2032, he now knows there's someone else chasing that same spotlight. And that someone just sent a loud message by breaking a record few thought would fall anytime soon. The comparisons to Usain Bolt are already flying, and while that's a heavy crown for any teenager, there's something undeniably Bolt-esque about Lubenda. Tall, explosive out of the blocks, and humble yet confident. His coach kept it simple. Stick to your rhythm. Stay composed. And Lubenda delivered, saying, "Everything went smoothly. Everything went according to plan." If anything, Lubenda's performance adds a layer of motivation to Gout's path. These two aren't just sprinters, they're symbols of a new era in Australian athletics. Both are immigrants. Both are young. Both are carrying the hopes of future Olympic success. But only one can lead the next sprinting revolution. And while Gout has the endorsements, the world stage experience, and the backing of Australia's top athletics programs, Lubenda has the momentum and the raw, unfiltered drive that makes prodigies impossible to ignore. For Gout, this is more than competition. It's pressure. After all, he's no longer just the next big thing, he's the benchmark. And when a 16-year-old steps up and nearly matches your numbers from last year, it forces you to level up or risk getting overtaken. But Gout's not rattled. In interviews, he speaks with maturity beyond his years. "Long term, I'd like to set myself up and set my family up," he said. He's made smart financial moves, buying a car with his savings, and staying focused on the long game. Lubenda, meanwhile, is just getting started. His confidence is growing, and so is his belief that he belongs on the world stage. "Last year, the races were close," he said, "but this year, I'm seeing a big difference. I'm waiting to improve more so I can be better next year." That hunger, combined with natural talent and early exposure to elite coaching, makes him dangerous, not in the distant future. Now, we're watching the early stages of what could become one of the most exciting sprint rivalries in modern athletics. And while the spotlight may have started on Gout, Uwezo Lubenda is racing to steal it. Only time will tell who will rise higher. But one thing is clear, Australia won't have to look far for its next sprinting superstar. In fact, it might have two. As Brisbane 2032 edges closer, both sprinters are at crucial stages in their development. Gout has tasted international competition, pressure, and the glare of global expectations. Lubenda, on the other hand, has the fire of a newcomer, less spotlight, but more hunger. The contrast is compelling. Gout thrives with structure, support systems, and corporate backing. Lubenda thrives on breakthrough moments, on pushing boundaries when no one expects him to. And let's not forget, Lubenda didn't just win. He dominated. Reports described him as finishing with a huge lead ahead of the chasing pack. That dominance isn't just a stat, it's a statement. And it's loud. What's also interesting is the timing. Lubenda's record-breaking run comes at a moment when global attention on track and field is ramping up again, with major events like the Diamond League, World Championships, and upcoming Olympics keeping sprinting in the spotlight. The rise of two Australian teenagers is exactly the kind of storyline that draws worldwide interest. In many ways, Australia is experiencing a sprint renaissance, and at the center of it are two prodigies whose rivalry could carry the sport into a new golden age. Gout has already set the pace. Uwezo Lubenda is now pushing it. So what happens next? If these two continue on their paths, they may very well face off at a major world event before Brisbane. The 2028 Los Angeles Games could be their first Olympic clash. A stage like that, and with two young stars from the same country, that's the stuff of legends. Lubenda has delivered the message. Now, it's Gout's move. This is no longer just about winning races. It's about rewriting history.
Und jetzt ist Usain Bolt nicht zu halten. Nein, er gewinnt.
16 years. That's how long Usain Bolt's world records have been standing. And he just said he's not worried about anyone breaking them anytime soon. In September 2025, Bolt showed up at a big Puma event in Tokyo. This was actually his first time going to a World Championships since he stopped running back in 2017. And when people asked him about his records, he didn't hold back. "I'm not worried," he said with that famous Bolt confidence. "People are trying to get faster, and someday it will happen, just not now." Let's talk about these records for a second. Back in 2009 at the World Championships in Berlin, Bolt ran the 100 meters in 9.58 seconds. Then he ran the 200 meters in 19.19 seconds.
Great man, Usain Bolt charging down the straight as best they can. The other men are trying to follow him. Mullings and Spearman finishing fast. Bolt wins, Bolt wins, and Bolt.
These times are so fast that nobody has even come close since then. Only one other runner, Johan Blake, has ever broken 9.7 in the 100 meters. That was back in 2012 when he ran 9.69. In the 200 meters, Blake is still the only other person to run faster than 19.3 seconds.
Tyson Gay got away well, so did Johan Blake. Blake's going away from this field at the moment. Following him is Tyson Gay, and Blake storming away, gets it. Gay in second place, and in third place, Lester Carter.
Think about how crazy this is. Jim Hines set a world record way back in 1968 with a time of 9.95. That record lasted 14 years before someone broke it. But Bolt's record has been standing for 16 years now, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. Now here's something really interesting. Today's runners have better shoes than Bolt ever had. They're called Super Spikes, and they have carbon plates in them that help runners go faster. Puma actually did some research and figured out that if Bolt had worn these new shoes back in Berlin, he would have run 9.42 seconds. That's even faster than his world record. Bolt totally agrees with this. He said, "I fully agree." He talked about another Jamaican runner named Shelly Ann Fraser-Price who kept running after he retired. "She got faster with the spikes," Bolt explained. "I probably would have run way faster if I'd continued and if I knew that spikes would have got to that level." But even with all this new technology, Bolt still doesn't think the current runners can break his records. So let's look at who's actually trying to chase down these times. First up is Noah Lyles from the United States. He's the only runner who's bold enough to actually say he wants to break Bolt's records.